This is
What a week.
What a week. PoliTricks.
Welcome back. It's another edition of #PoliTricks with Botsang Modimowame Moiloa. Now, at WAW, my production staff get a bit anxious when it comes to the length of our segments. So it was a pleasant surprise when we saw that some of you commenting on last week's PoliTricks wondered why it wasn't longer. However, in general, we love that you're enjoying us talking politics. So please give a welcome back to someone you love seeing run his mouth and his brain off, Botsang Modimowame Moiloa, with this week's edition of PoliTricks. Botsang.
Yes, Brother Fresh, morning, Tato. Sharp, morning to the followers and the viewers.
Yes, sir.
I'm glad you took responsibility, the production team. They say, someone said to me, we have been reducing the show with 5 minutes every week in the last 3 weeks.
Was this the Auditor General? Why are they auditing the minutes in the show?
No. You know what? Like you said,
Yes,
I think the people are enjoying the show.
Yes.
And we are covering important things, which is a good thing when people complain that they want more. But you know, there's challenge. Sometimes there's not much topics to talk about.
Sure.
We're limited with time. Time is resources as well, very expensive resource.
Absolutely.
But also sometimes we're human beings. You know, we get tired of sitting in and discussing sensitive, dangerous, and the difficult stuff.
Often very divisive also.
Yeah. But it's part of the game.
Now, as we are heading towards an election, obviously the IEC will be top of mind every week.
It looks like we are stuck with the IEC and election, and they are also not helping us. You know, they're making sure that every week they are part of the subject.
So, what are your thoughts on the fact that they're not letting the Zuma case go? One, but two, but they've also confirmed though that his face will be on the posters.
Yes.
And on the ballot paper for the MK party.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, Fresh, this is, I don't know, for a normal South African resident or citizen, it's very confusing.
Sure.
And I still say, I think the IEC, it's playing into a dirty political game. They've entered a terrain that they were not supposed to enter.
Sure.
And I'll break it into segments. Like, for example, the first one to say they will now have, the former President Jacob Zuma on the ballot paper because of the court ruling, the electoral court ruling, that there's nothing barring him to be on that part. I think it's a step in the right direction. They are doing themselves a favor. They are, first of all, adhering to the court decision. Secondly, to also, reduces the tension that is going on to say, but we want our preferred person. Imagine what could have happened if the IEC had went on to print ballot papers without Jacob Zuma. Then they lose the case. Then they had to destroy all those ballot papers and print new ones or make an adjustment on them. And I'm glad they are not printed. Actually, the decision to start printing is going to happen during the course of this past week. But they were also awaiting other decisions of the electoral court. There's other 15 about political parties or candidates that have registered their protest against them being removed or various reasons.
Yeah, because we're down to about 50 parties now.
Yeah, well, I hear during the course of the week that technically we may go up to 60 parties,
Sure.
Depending on the outcome of these cases, which the electoral court reserves the judgment. That's another problem we are sitting with. But at the moment, it's like 51 that are definitely confirmed with 15 independent candidates. It may go down, it may go up, and that's the challenge that the IEC is faced with. So that's one part regarding whether President Zuma is eligible to be on the ballot paper, and we have passed that stage.
Sure.
But on your second question, the challenge I'm sitting with is the appeal itself to the Constitutional Court. Why are they appealing this matter to the Constitutional Court? And I'll tell you what is my challenge with it. And I'll base it also on what an expert, Ntate Ritzelani, 2 weeks ago had said on this platform.
Sure.
Section 47, paragraph 1E of the Constitution, it is talking to the National Assembly, and I repeat, the IEC are overstepping and overreaching. I have listened to Mr. Sayo Mamabulu, the IEC electoral CEO, the commissioner, saying they are actually seeking legal advice. The country at the moment, it's not clear with what is happening there.
Sure.
And or people don't understand. But I ask myself, which people do not understand? Who are the people who do not understand the legislation? Some of us, we are sitting and said, we understand the legislation. There are people who wrote those laws. Now, Fresh, if you want to consult, and consultation in government entities happens a lot. Parliament itself, it happens very frequently that in Parliament, the Speaker, a matter will be raised by one of the political parties, and the Speaker will say, I am referring this matter to the legal advisors of the National Assembly. I'll come back with an answer, either after lunch or the following day or after a week. It happens now. The IEC, if they say they are consulting and they are seeking clarity, why do you appeal a matter to the Constitutional Court to seek clarity? Because if you seek clarity, then you are supposed to approach the constitutional lawmakers, because it's a constitutional matter, or even the National Assembly, or even the state law advisors. We have state law advisors in South Africa. It's a whole, sitting of government legal. Why do you have to go to the Constitutional Court to appeal a matter when you can seek advice by writing to those institutions to say, while we are preparing for elections, give us clarity on this issue? And also, I think they are again playing in the hands of Jacob Zuma and Umkhonto we party, because why use, Umkhonto we may stand up and say, why do you use our case for seeking clarity? Understand? Why are they using the Jacob Zuma era for seeking clarity? We spoke last week about how they are giving Zuma free mileage and free publicity. A friend of mine was saying to me, Botsang, you've been active in politics, and to make a rally, it costs hundreds of thousands of rands. Now, if you take Zuma to court, automatically you have arranged rally for him, because the people go there, the police, all the things that you need to can have a rally, like the Metro Police Services, the policemen, they come for free now. Sure. And we don't realize that it is costing us unnecessary money, because you can seek legal advice without going to a court. Once you go to a court, it means there's a dispute. It does not mean there's no understanding.
What do you say then to the IEC, who are saying it mustn't be seen as us getting involved in politics, but we're trying to circumvent a situation where if we appealed it at a later stage, then it affects the outcome of millions of votes that had been casted already?
First of all, they filed for appeal without having the ruling itself. Sure. The decision was made by the report of the presiding judges.
Why, yes.
The why, and
yes.
So if you are approaching without getting the why, if you are approaching a higher court, what are you basing your approach on? You don't have the meat, you don't have the facts and the reasoning behind the decision of the Electoral Court. But I think they are. You ask me, what do I think about them? I think they are playing into a political space. The IEC is an administrative body. It is governed by the Electoral Act, and they should limit themselves to that. I still say the IEC should have left the issue of whether how will it impact on the IEC? Let's say we go to elections.
Sure.
And the Constitutional Court or the National Assembly stands up and say, Jacob Zuma, you cannot become an MP. How does it affect the IEC? It doesn't. How does it affect elections? It doesn't. It will be up to Umkhonto we party at that time to say, our preferred member of parliament or our number one on the list does not qualify to go into parliament. Therefore, we will replace him with another person. Sure. I mean, it's as easy as that. They can still seek legal advice for more clarity without impacting, soiling, and mudding this process of the current elections. It will not affect the IEC because he qualifies to contest elections. He qualifies to vote. He qualifies as where we are now based on the ruling. He qualifies to be a person that the party prefers to be on their ballot paper. The IEC work ends there.
Sure.
What happens after people have been voted? 400 candidates lists are now going, because I remember also these lists are not permanent because people say we need 400, the ANC will put 400 people, the EFF will put 400 people. But then, in accordance of preference and the ranking or the hierarchy, now, the IEC work will end there.
Sure.
Once people have voted and people are elected to go to the National Assembly, not as a president, as an MP, because it is the National Assembly or members of the National Assembly, the so-called MPs. It's them who elect the President of the Republic. It is not us. We elect members of the National Assembly.
So let Parliament do Parliament's work, basically.
Let Parliament do its work. The rules of Parliament will kick in immediately after the elections to say, these are the people who have been voted into the National Assembly or selected by their representative party, the representative of the parties, and therefore can they please be registered as or sworn in as MPs. Then Parliament will come in at that time and they will say, Mr. Jacob G. Zuma, you do not qualify to be an MP because of A, B, C, D, E.
Sure.
I heard the IEC also trying to define. Listen to this question. The IEC CEO, Mr. Simon Mabolo, says, and I've seen Met Advocate Tulima Donzela tweeting about it as well,
Sure.
saying there's an argument now of English. What does remission mean? I've read both. I mean, imagine these people are executives and advocates. How on earth do we sit with a former public protector to this day?
Getting involved.
Getting involved and questioning the meaning of remission. How on earth did legal graduates don't know what is the meaning of remission? How is it defined? You can go and look. Anybody can go and look. It's an English word. Go and get the Oxford Dictionary and read what does remission mean.
Sure.
It's very clear. Also, go and read the legal. I've quoted it last week. The legal definition of what remission means. It means the president, when he makes that decision, it overrules. It overrules what the court had decided. It's like a pleading office. It's senior. It does not mean then when it's not like a parole, you understand,
Sure.
whereby your sentence is still 20 years on parole or 25 years for life sentence, but it's reduced. Remission, it replaces what was the decision before.
Sure.
And for me, Fresh, I think these legal heads and administrators of government are playing to the political space, and things may get bad. And we don't wish to be in that situation.
Absolutely. Another situation you don't want to be in is having the SIU looking into your business. But one thing I'm curious about, though, why does the SIU need to go through the president in terms of having to do that work?
Yeah. And look, first of all, I don't think the SIU will ever look into my business. I'm not operating at that level. Even if I have money, they will never arrive at that. I try to live within the parameters of the law. But
for those that don't know, what is the SIU? Who are they?
The
What do they
Special
do?
Investigating Unit.
Okay.
It's part of the Hawks and the former Scorpions. They are also implementers of what we used to call the Asset Forfeiture Unit. So it's for high crime, especially white collar crime. For a change, we've got a white collar crime now. Like embezzlement of funds, money laundering, very serious, transactional, administrative, and financial transactions. Now, the Special Investigating Unit will normally investigate special cases. The case of, at the moment, the case of the asbestos one in the Free State. But the challenge I'm having is the laws in the country. You ask the question, why do they have to go via the president? When that unit was formed, to work together with as a high-profile case of South African Police Services as well as the National Prosecuting Authority. When they were formed, it was proclaimed that with their act or their guidelines, that in order for them to carry on such operations or to investigate Fresh or Botsang or whoever, the President of the Republic of South Africa must proclaim that, must sign it off. Okay. And I have a problem with that because you are again politicizing what is supposed to be an effective arm of the state.
So hypothetically then, if they needed to look into his affairs, who'd sign that off?
That's exactly where the problem is. We had that situation recently, the situation of the Pala issue and the CR17 records, which are sealed by the banks now. And that's exactly, in that instance, I assume that the Chief Justice of the Republic or the Speaker of Parliament or even the Deputy President at that time will have to step in to check. That's my assumption. That's the most logical thing that comes to mind to do. But it's also a problem, Fresh, that Most of high-collar crimes are created by political office bearers in South Africa or business people like Marcus Jooste in collaboration with corrupt people in government, okay? Marcus Jooste's case is basically public monies. Now, imagine if you are the president of the ruling party, could be any after the 29th, and then a document is presented in front of you to say, one of your ministers or cabinet members, or a member of your political party. I mean, we have the SIU investigating the gentleman who contested President Ramaphosa regarding what you call that issue of the former finance head of the ANC and the former minister of health. Who contested Ramaphosa. That investigation into allegations of corruption. It's investigated by the SIU. Now, he was Ramaphosa's contestant. Fellow contestant for a position of the president, Zelim Kize,
Sure.
Mr. Mkize. Now Ramaphosa must go and sit down and sign off to say investigate him or not. He's still his comrade. He's still a member of his political party. He's his rival within the political party. And that's where the unfairness comes from. Why wouldn't we let, as a nation, the police work remain with the police, the legal work remain with the justice system? Why do we need a political head to approve the SIU to do their job?
Yes.
If they've got a case and they want to investigate, remember, they are not just doing things. They have now investigated the Speaker of Parliament. President Ramaphosa had to sign off that project. But look at what happened. If it wasn't of General Bantolo, Misa, and the media to put pressure on them, the president was sitting on that thing.
Sure.
We would have not been where we are. And that, for me, that's where the challenge is to say, mainly corrupt people are business people and politicians. Now, in order for them to be investigated, it has to be one of them
Sure.
that approves the investigation. I think our laws are misaligned in that manner.
But is there an opportunity to change it, or is this me and you just on a soapbox because it's not going to change?
There is. Look, there's always an opportunity to amend laws.
Sure.
Laws are amendable, they're not stagnant.
Sure.
And it is the duty of those 400 people and these political parties to table motions. And I looked at the manifestos of all the parties. I'm reading them day by day. None of them is talking about how the arms of the state are working, or the law enforcement entities, whether they are working, who do they report to, the National Director of Public Prosecutions, the Public Protector. As I've said, these are supposed to be Chapter 9 institutions that are absolutely independent. In a sense, but we're still making them dependent. There is an opportunity to change them. MPs must table that proposal to say, let us change the way we investigate and we process things, matters like that.
Sure.
Like if you look at SARS, if SARS, South African Revenue Service, they suspect something on you, they don't have to go to the president, they do their job.
Sure.
You understand? And SARS has, for example, now tabled a bill or a proposal as recent as last week, where they want to put spy cameras, what do you call surveillance? Let me use the correct surveillance cameras in factories that are producing cigarettes.
Oh, yes.
You understand? Their motivation is we want to avoid people producing wrong stuff and importing. So they want to balance the market. What is being produced is what is being sold, because there are a lot of illicit goods. This works two ways. It actually even protects that industry against illicit goods, but it also helps in SARS. SARS didn't have to go to the president to get permission to do that. They tabled a bill, it's a proposal bill that the industry, the tobacco industry is challenging. But I'm just making SARS as an example to say, why is SARS capable of doing such, and other government entities, they are not allowed to, especially law enforcement like the police. There's a lot of corruption in South Africa. And then the president has to give permission to investigate corruption. Why do we have to wait for Mr. Ramaphosa to wake up and finish traveling to can sign off? Very important. And we are looking for Marcus Jooste now. We have been investigating Marcus Jooste for years, and he vanished. And I'm using those words carefully. He vanished. Nobody knows where's Marcus Jooste, if he's really dead. And I'm one of the people who are questioning it. The Department of Home Affairs says Marcus Jooste, it's personal, it's private to say whether they issued a death certificate or no, it's not private. I read the rules this week. Your Popia the Protection of Personal Information Act, the POPO. Yeah. You know what does it say? Only when you are alive. When you are dead, there's nothing to be protected. It doesn't cover the deceased people. So Home Affairs and the police and government must stop fooling the nation by not telling us where is the body of Marcus Jooste. And this is some of the children. This guy owes us billions as a nation.
Sure.
Now he, in inverted commas, committed suicide. Nobody has seen the body. It's been weeks now, a month. Nobody has seen the body. Nobody has released reports of which firearm did he use, what caliber, was he cremated, when was he buried, and that. It's a public figure that stole money and embezzled money from the public. Why would the government want to keep Marcus Jooste's body private and secret from us? I think we're going to end up with the Osama bin Laden situation where the Americans claim that they buried Osama bin Laden in the sea.
In the ocean.
In the ocean. So for me, we are not aiding to fight crime by going through red tapes and these laws that were created by criminals to can investigate criminals. And that's where the problem is.
Sure. Let's move to the biasness of the media. Why are you so concerned about media bias?
One, you know, this was brought in by two things. Last week we spoke about how Sekunjalo, a media house, publishers of Independent Online, Sunday Independent, The Star, Pretoria News, led by Dr. Iqbal Sev.
Iqbal Sev, yes.
Yes. He won the case in court on behalf of one of his leading investigative journalists, Mr. Thabo Makwakwa.
Sure.
Now, the MMA, this media monitoring.
What was the gist of the Makwakwa case?
It was the what do you call it, the Secret Service, South African Secret Services report that was compiled by the CIA against, they are investigating. So the CIA actually has been monitoring the African National Congress. They were looking at affairs of, oh, by the way, I mentioned on the report. Yeah, the Thabo Makwakwa is releasing it batch by batch every week. So what happened is they went for everybody who was seen to be associated with Jacob Zuma or the Guptas.
So how did you make it onto the report?
The ANN7, with my time at ANN7 as an analyst. So they started that time. That one is not, they released 2 batches now, every Sunday.
So you were never seen at the Shebeen?
Unfortunately, I was never seen at Shebeen, but it's a list of the people that they looked into who were seen to be close to the Gupta. I'm not even, I told you before, I don't even know the Guptas. I never met them. You know, I'm a independent political analyst, and I happen to have been a resident analyst on ANN7. So they checked everybody, Karl Niehaus, Papano Pasha, Ismail Hashul, and everybody else. Now, what is wrong is that they go and they abuse the media. The media finds out that there is this report compiled by the CIA or American State Security in conjunction or working hand in hand with a South African, state security agency. And this has been happening for years. And Thabo Makwakwa laid his hands on that report. Fresh, 2 of those reports are already out. There's still more coming. He said he's going to release them, And this happened under our nose. A foreign intelligence investigating individuals. That time they labeled us as people with interest.
People of interest.
Yeah,
persons of interest. Yes.
Imagine the poor me. What interest am I having to do that? Now the media. My problem is the media management and MMA. As well as media guard dogs they went silent when these people were sanctioned. Thabo Makwakwa was sanctioned, until Dr. Sev and his team went to court. Why did they have to go to court to do their job as investigative journalists? And while other media houses like the Daily Maverick, which is shocking, the Daily Maverick as well as News 24, they actually, who are normally up and talking about corruption, they were actually against Thabo Makwakwa having that report. They went silent. They never wrote, and they wrote against the Sunday Independent or Sekunjalo media. They to say it's not along the lines of ethic journalism. What is ethic journalism when they've investigated people themselves? So when it suits the other group of the ruling party, and I don't even belong to the ruling party. I've never belonged to them. But when it suits them, they can be investigated. They are corrupt. Ismail Hashul and whoever, they are corrupt according to the white-owned media like News 24, the mainstream media. But now when the coin is flipped and there's somebody in the journalism industry who has information that is now indicating how some state entities and our spies have been used by the Americans, they silence them. And I think that's unjust.
Sure.
That it depends who are you reporting about. You know, I mean, one of my friends in South Africa was investigating the Pala issue, like on that case, step by step, every day. You understand? And suddenly some of the things you can't write about them, you can't publish them. Where do we select? Where is the media industry allowed? They can't have things as they want. They can't do as they wish. And thanks, we have podcasts now. We have to be disciplined. We have to put disclaimers and things like that. But this thing of sanctioning one part of the media, while the others have decided to go and publish as they wish. And look at the strategy, what they did. The Daily Maverick, after the court ruling, they go public now because their followers were saying, how did they miss that?
Yes.
Because normally they are the first ones. Then they go and say, oh, we don't have money, we can't afford.
How were they outscooped?
They were outscooped. We can't afford to continue. We need donations for our journalists to do work. Absolute nonsense. I will tell you, that's absolute nonsense. How do you say you can afford and you announce that for 1 hour, for 1 day, from 12 midnight until 23:59, we will be offline because we don't have resources. Imagine the Daily Maverick that is owned by the likes of Johan Rupert and the VSS of this world. They are finding, how can it run out of money when they are sitting in a multi-million rand industry and they go offline for one day? Exactly 24. They even announced it so nicely and issued a 2-page statement. I'm not buying to that story. They were outscooped.
Yeah.
They are creating a hype that people must donate and subscribe to them to push their propaganda. And I call it propaganda. I'm one of the people who have said the white-owned media in South Africa, it's actually pushing the Stratcom, information. And it's the truth. I mean, we have seen how they report. We have seen how they defend. Now they've dragged even institutions like universities, Stellenbosch University, Professor Madonsela, they've dragged those people. We have seen how Reddy Klabi, as a good journalist, was dragged into this whole political row. But that's the power of the media. That's what the media does. They take political side. It's a platform or a tool that is being used by political office bearers and business people to defend their interest. But I think black media people in South Africa should rise. And look, unfortunately, newspaper sales have gone down because of electronics.
Sure.
But the media must stand up to defend their rights or to also come with proposals of how they should be protected, and how agencies like Boikas, I don't know which agency manages the media houses in South Africa, the print media in reporting and journalism, not only their union, which is useless to me. They should go and propose laws that will defend and protect the journalists of this country to can publish things ethically within the parameters of the law. And for me, that's why I'm concerned about that issue. That's why I've added it on the list. But people are going to say I used to work very closely with Thabo Makwakwa on Scoops. They say I'm protecting him. No, bruh. If there's information that is public information like intelligence report that impacts on us, we must clap hands that people like Thabo Makwakwa stand up for the best interest of the nation. We can't have Americans playing on our field as they wish while we are not doing it in their country. And part of defending the integrity and the territory of the country is to protect it against foreign intelligence operatives as well. And they were paid not from Washington, by the way. They opened a special office in Tshwane at the U.S. Embassy, deployed personnel there, who are actually were brought in from the U.S. to come and directly spy on us and look at, people of interest in South Africa. They were sitting right in their embassy in Tshwane. And our SSA go and cooperate with such people against the India. They're supposed to protect us, not to spy on us. I mean the SSA.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and they are not doing that. But yeah.
Let's move to the Middle East. So a week or two ago, there's a bombing at a Iranian embassy. Was it in Damascus?
It's Damascus, yes.
By Israel.
Yes.
Apparently, allegedly. And Iran said that they're going to revenge. Obviously, they took about 2 weeks to revenge or to assert themselves.
Yeah.
But what seemed to me like, it almost seemed like we're taking a certain posture, but we don't really want to fight.
Yeah.
It was like a mock charge.
I regard it as a mock, although they say they've achieved the intended objective.
Please take us to the Middle East. What's happening with Iran? What's happening with Israel? Israel said, listen, we are going to retaliate. America said, listen, we would take any position Israel we take, but we wouldn't encourage them to retaliate.
Yeah, by the way, where we are today, Israel, during the course of the issued a statement to say they are preparing to retaliate themselves. But what transpired was 2 weeks ago, you are correct.
Yeah.
You say it's allegedly. Obviously, political offices, they will deny that it's them. But I don't think Iran, having been in a war with Iraq for 10 years, they will just say it's Israel. They must have had facts. What happened was allegedly Israel bombed and killed one of the leading generals in the Iranian intelligence and defense.
Wasn't the death toll about 7, I think?
Yeah, the death was 7 people and one of them was a lead. Remember, it's the second general now after the Americans killed Soleimani with drones a few months ago. Now, first, we have to explain to our viewers and followers, an embassy or a diplomatic mission, whether it's a consulate or an embassy or a high commission, it is part of the territory of a republic or of a country. So the Iranian consulate in Damascus, it is actually a part of Iran. And if you send a missile there that hits that building, the chancery, that's what it's called officially, and you kill people there, you have actually attacked Iranians in Iran, even if it doesn't there. That's the first part that we should be clear of. Now, Iran, after doing that, they decided we are going to retaliate. But this happened during what you always mention, it happened during a Ramadan period. So being a Muslim country, they said, no, we will wait until Eid Mubarak ends, the celebration of the end of the Ramadan. And they did exactly that. They first announced when they will attack very soon, and they wait for Ramadan to end. People who play with expensive toys, you even go and pray first before you release missiles. Then on Friday night at midnight, now they knew about this. The Americans, the Russians, and other countries like Jordan, they issued statements to want to close their airspaces. So they knew that at midnight, when the following day on Saturday, when people were watching our show, we were recording, the missiles went off. Now, it was a scheduled one. Number one, it started at midnight, and they knew they said it would be for 5 hours. 5 o'clock, they stopped. But you call it what? A mock. Oh, look, they sent drones that were very slow, traveling for 5 hours to...
I could have stopped one of those drones because you can see it's coming.
I think it was just, they did it purposefully to send those drones. I mean, Iran has
The Iron Dome can handle even bigger assault than that.
Exactly. So they did it purposefully. But my thinking was, one, sending those plus minus 400 drones was to distract Israel to focus on the drones, while the missiles that were sent to a military barrack or a military camp, 7 of them went into the military camp, 7 representing the 7 lives lost, and Israel could not stop even one of them. So the intended attack was not the drones that went, that Israel could stop very easily. The intended place was a military platform where Iran wanted to do that. And I asked, I sent a post out, I wrote to a few military experts, both local, international, and diplomatic, to say, I don't understand. I'm sitting here from midnight, I'm watching all the news and Al Jazeera, not even one drone lands there, because I was following the news. And I wrote to some experts to say, but why would Iran do that? What is the purpose? What is the era? Because they can attack if they want to attack. Why bluff? And somebody said to me, it is money. It is costing Israel billions of dollars to can actually counter those things and those drones. Understand? So it costed them more. So it's like shooting blanks. In simple language, like Iran was shooting blanks, and Israel had to use money and equipment to can counter the blanks. They could have not done anything should they have landed in Israel or in Tel Aviv. But also, despite making them spend money, it was to warn them and to say to them, we are capable of doing this thing. We can send even more better missiles. And I don't think Israel should retaliate. It was not a war. Russia, China, and other countries, they already stood up and said, USA, should you enter this and help Israel, we will also enter to help Iran.
But generally, it seems like Netanyahu is not a favorite politician in Israel. So surely starting another war justifies why you guys still need me. You guys still need me.
Yeah, to protect you.
Yeah, I'm protecting you.
Look, I wouldn't say it's not a favorite. Look, Benjamin Netanyahu has been the Prime Minister of Israel more than once.
Sure.
He has been there since the time of, I remember as a child, I used to see the former Palestinian Liberation Organization leader, Yasser Arafat. Yasser Arafat talking about Benjamin Netanyahu. This guy has been back and forth in Israel politics. And I don't want to say he's not a favorite, because I don't think Israelis are peaceful people. I don't think the Jews are peaceful people generally. For them to keep on bringing him back when he's a warmonger, he fights everybody. I think they are comfortable with that. And this is happening on the eve of the American elections, and Israel is the baby of America. Other people have said Israel runs politics in America. And, I remember a quotation from the former American President Barack Obama after he left office saying, if people thought Americans run America, they must have seen by the time he tried to propose a move against Israel in the American Congress. President Obama himself said he could have lost his presidency. Anything that you say against Israel and the Jews in the Congress, you will be removed from power. So this battle brought back the issue that who knows that Benjamin Netanyahu is actually controlling the American politics. How this small state has so much control over other countries, it's all about money, fresh. We saw how the Jews in South Africa owned and controlled the African National Congress and its leaders, post 1990, after they were coming back from exile, after Tate Mandela himself was handled by the Jews in South Africa. So it shows the power and the control. But there's only one thing that I would say that makes the Jews to be one of the tiniest, smallest communities on earth, tiniest, small, not only by the size of Israel, but they're all over the world. And all over the world where they are organized, they stick together, and they've got the money. They control politics, they own presidents, they control businesses. In South Africa, Jews in South Africa own almost everything. If they don't own a mine, they will own the owner of the mine. And that's how they operate. So I think it's a financial muscle, it's the power they are possessing. I mean, even in countries like Russia itself, you've got Jews who are, business magnates in the middle of Russia. Well, they may be saying they're on the side of the Russian, politics, but I don't think I'll buy the story of the Israeli people claiming that Netanyahu is a bad person. They don't like him, he should go. I think they like him. I think they like what he's doing for killing and bombing people. I mean, how do you wake up and you just bomb another country? When are we going to pass the state of a Cold War? Because of one state. One, it's Israel all over. Whenever there's a war in the Middle East, anywhere, Israel is somewhere. In Israel and the USA are somewhere in the middle there. And I don't think there are peaceful people living in the peaceful Holy Land, actually. And, that's why I sometimes question the religion and politics.
Now, there's been a lot of talk about a third world war. If Israel retaliate, and then Russia get involved, and then China get involved. But I'm certain all of those nations know for a fact that we can't afford a third world war.
I think it's a talk. The world can't afford a war.
Yes.
And I think it's just a pep talk. They will never get into that situation. Look, if Iran wanted to fight, the day the Americans killed their second in charge, Soleimani, Iran would have went into war at that time. But Iran knows the impact of having a war. They were not going to that. Germany knows. Germany lost 2 world wars. They hardly even have an army. That's why they're relying on NATO. I don't think the superpowers of military with their nuclear armaments like Russia and China, and then you still have India on the other side and Pakistan, and the crazy young men, what do you call Kim Jong in North Korea?
Kim Jong-il.
Yeah.
Which one is easy? Un or il?
Yeah.
Un.
So imagine all these countries sending missiles through each other. I don't think we'll go into a third world war. We don't need a war. It will be to their detriment.
Sure.
By the way, did you see the reports of the so-called experts that? Do you know what will be the safest? Should the world war break out?
Sure.
What will be the safest place to be on earth? South Africa.
Oh, wow.
Yes, there's a whole technical report.
Well, in terms of what? Nuclear fallout?
The fallout as well as the position of the country, and if the war takes place in the Middle East, to America and Asia, to the West, South Africa is said to be the safest spot to be. Not to say, but they say we will be the safest to be. There's more chance to survive when you are in South Africa should the war break out than any other place on earth. But I don't think they'll go into that. And Israelis, they like wars, but they are also, they say in Afrikaans, bankrat. They are panic. Did you see how they rushed to the airports to leave Israel immediately after there was silence off? There were queues all over the airport, but they couldn't fly out because the airspaces of Jordan and others, they need, they were closed. I mean, Jordan stood up. Many countries in the Middle East, 3 countries actually in the Middle East, stood up and said, Israel, if you are going to attack Iran, retaliate, you are not going to use our airspace.
Yes.
So that already puts them in a disadvantaged position. If another country says, you are not going to use our airspace to attack Iran. Even Iraq, that went into a 10-year-old war with Iran. Iraq said, Israel, you are not going to use our airspace, and they need Iraq or Jordan airspace to attack Iran. But I don't see us going into a third world war. No, please, not in my lifetime. Let it happen when I'm gone. My kids will deal with them. These guys are armed. President Kim, is he a president? The king in...
Kim Jong-un, yes.
The guy always, when there's skirmishes, he always comes out and tests one missile. That's
Just
unique.
a young flex.
Yeah, and says...
Supreme leader.
The supreme leader. Whoever needs my help, just call. Use the red phone to call me. I will help.
Absolutely.
And we don't need that.
Yes, sir. And I think we're done. It's a wrap.
No, thank you very much. I think we have covered all the topics that we wanted to do, and I think we've been having a great time.
Botsang, where do we find you on social media?
botsangm@gmail.com is my email, and on the telephone it's 082-884-7787. No, what did I say? No, it's 082-485-9100. I nearly gave the number that I give to other people. And then on Instagram, on Twitter, as well as on Facebook, it's @Botsang.
And please engage with the topic, with the subject that we talk about. We love your comments. So please get into debates, and let's talk about it.
I actually like the comments. I saw, even when people question us.
Yes.
And people will say, why didn't you cover this? We don't have time, the show producer. But also, I like it when people question some of the positions that we take.
Yes, sir.
We are not always right, and we don't say, we are here to have discussions and converse. So actually I'm enjoying the comments and conversation on social media.
And please remember to subscribe and share and tell your grandmother and your grandmother's grandmother that we are on your podcast and we are on YouTube. Coming to you from AM Studios, downtown Jozi. We're part of the Africa Podcast Network. Shout out Pezulu Works for the cinematography, Otis the Flow Fraser for all of the imaging, our guest Botsang Modimowame Moiloa, creative producer Kuvesh Mohan, show producer Kelezo Mudisa King. Email us at waw@africapodcastnetwork.com. Till next week, have a wow week in spite of yourselves.